Hey lovelies, I hope everyone's doing well today. So I made a post earlier about expectations and standards, and the more I think about it and the more, I research about it, I notice how confusing it is, and I could see how a lot of people get confused with these things. So I want to make like a quick video. I wrote down the definitions of expectations, standards, boundaries, and preferences so we could kind of know the difference between them. A lot of people think, your standards or high standards are like expectations, but they're not. Expectations are they should be for more yourself, but let's read the definition. Expectations: the feeling or belief that something will or should happen. So, you know, it's more living in the future. It's not living in the moment. You're anticipating these things happening, um, and it's based off assumptions or just things that aren't real. It's in your head. You assume, you expect someone should know what you're thinking or treat you a different way on different days. Like, they're most of the time pretty unrealistic, but we do need them. There's certain times and places that they're going to be expectations. Like if you go to therapy, they're going to expect you to do the work to get better. If you work in a restaurant, they're going to expect you to, make the quality food and health and, all this stuff like that. School, they're going to expect you to show up and do your homework and things like that. So it's not always a bad thing. You just gotta, make sure that you have lower expectations. They're always going to be around. You just don't want them controlling your life, because then you're just constantly living in the future and constantly living on assumptions and stuff like that. Standards, the definition is a level of quality or attainment. So that one's pretty straight up for what it is. Boundary is the limit of what someone considers to be acceptable behavior. And preferences is a greater liking for one alternative over another. So with expectations, that's the main one that you need to realize. You can't control other people or how they act, or you can't expect or assume someone's going to know how you feel, or like, if you're going to have expectations, they work better when you mainly have them for yourself, besides, the other situations, work, therapy, and things like that. But boundaries and standards is kind of what you set for other people. We need those. Standards are like requirements. Like if you go to a job, they're going to have these requirements, and we should have them too when it comes to dating, friends, any kind of relationships with people in our lives. A lot of people have a bunch of expectations, but no standards. A bunch of different preferences, but no standards. Preferences to me are like way more shallow. Like I need someone that looks like this. I need somebody that, makes all their money so they could help me, or take care of me. Mainly it's like, yeah, shallow things, surface things, looks, things like that. Boundaries, of course, we need to have boundaries. It's just how to have healthy relationships, and we don't want unacceptable behavior. We're not going to be lied to and treated like crap, and all these things. So we have to just know what our boundaries and our standards are. Some standards that people have are, for examples, honesty or trustworthiness, faithfulness, values, vulnerability, acceptance, clear communication. So I can set these standards with people and be like, okay, like clear communication is really important to me, but I can't expect these people to clearly communicate or communicate to me in the way that I want it or feel like I need it or whatever. But if people aren't living up to your standards, or if your standard is honesty and trust, and someone keeps lying to you or cheating on you, you have to get rid of them out of your life. That's just how we protect ourselves and make sure we're getting what we want and need based on our experiences and what we've learned and everything else. So they're needed. Preferences are kind of like not really too needed. We all have them, but like they're usually not like a make it or break it kind of situation unless you're real shallow. And that's kind of in our heads. The same thing with expectations. It's just kind of like in our heads, and it's gonna create disappointment. Or if we don't get our preferences that we want, we might feel disappointed. Like, I feel like these things set us up for disappointment. But like boundaries and good standards, like that's gonna keep high value people in your life. um there's just so many relationships and friendships I've had where, it's my standards are very clear, but then they try to like turn it around into like thinking that I expect things, or, saying like weird things where I'm like, no, it's not an expectation. This is just how it is. It's, I clearly know you can't control people, and you really only have control over yourself and what you set for yourself. And you know, and you get to choose the people you allow close to you. Or, if you're allowing people to walk all over you, your standards probably aren't that high. So, I don't know, make sure you have better standards and watch those expectations, because it can be really toxic. And I feel like these days everyone is expecting so much, especially expecting things they can't dish out themselves. And there's a lot of hypocrites and just a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense out there. But if you want high value people in your life, you have to have higher standards. And if people are not living up to these standards, or, whatever the term might be, you have to let them go, or be distant, or have another conversation and be like, hey, these are my standards to have a good, healthy friendship for me. And if the other person's standards don't match up with yours, it might not work out the way you want it to or need it to. And you decide from there, how the friendship or relationship should go. But this is getting long. I could probably go on all day about this, because there's just like so much to it. But there's plenty of videos online of different opinions, and it seems like it's a lot of opinion when it comes to this stuff. But and they're all kind of, it seems like they're interchangeable. Like, you would think standards, okay, my standard is I expect someone to be honest, but it's not like that. Your standard is honesty, and you don't expect that person to really do much. But when they are dishonest with you, you have to decide what the consequence is going to be when it comes up. But only because you set a standard doesn't mean people are going to, live your standard or be better to you or anything like that. But at least, you'll be able to see clearly, what someone's intentions for you, or, all those types of things, if you set good standards and you like stand by those. But yeah, a lot of people I've noticed will just make it seem like high maintenance stuff, or like, oh, you have high standards, you're high maintenance. No, I think high maintenance is more like materialistic things, or I need all these things, I need to be touched, I need this and that. And those aren't standards. I guess those would be more like preferences. That's why I'm like this. They're kind of like, they seem like there's just a fine line between them all. But I do notice people like thinking everything's like expectations, like don't expect this, don't expect that. And it's like, well, there are standards. So even though it's different from expectation, it's still something you need to set as a requirement. And it just is what it is. It's not something you're anticipating from someone. I mean, if you want to anticipate stuff in yourself and give yourself expectations, that's a little different. They're setting yourself up for disappointment with yourself, but it can help drive you too. But yeah, getting a little mumbled jumbled over here. But I do think knowing about these things is so important, especially when like dating and trying to either fix relationships or get new friendships or relationships, and just to be able to analyze yourself more and watch yourself. Am I setting a boundary or a standard, or am I expecting things? So yeah, I think that's about it. Standards, they're going to be powerful. They're going to help you in life, and expectations are definitely going to disappoint you constantly. So that's a way to find, to see the difference pretty clearly. But Yeah, keep those standards high, keep those expectations low, and you'll see more high value people surrounding you because there'll be no other way besides that. All right, have a good day, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.